Welcome to Target Market Insights, the multifamily and marketing podcast. Each week, John Kasman interviews multifamily and marketing experts to teach you how to find the best places to invest, attract investors, and grow your portfolio. You are listening to Target Market Insights with your host, John Kasman.
Welcome to Target Market Insights, the multifamily and marketing show. I'm your host, John Kasman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. Now, if you're enjoying the show, do me a favor and leave us that 5-star rating and review. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Now, today we're going to be talking to Mike Begg. All right, Mike Begg is an entrepreneur and expert in e-commerce, digital marketing, and operational nearshoring. Mike co-founded AMZ Advisors with his two partners in 2015 and has grown the business to managing over $10 million per year in ad spend and $100 million per year in Amazon sales. Let's welcome to the show, Mike Begg.
Hi, John. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with your audience and share some of my insights and knowledge.
Absolutely. Hey, Mike, listen, it's great to have you here. I went over your bio at a very high level. Why don't you give us a little bit more context on your background and experience?
Sure. So I actually have a very strange background, maybe. It's kind of transitioned from a lot of different things. Out of school, I started working in consulting. I worked at Deloitte. I really didn't like my time there, so I moved on to something else. I got into real estate, worked at Sears in retail real estate redevelopment. And we did a lot of different stuff there. One of the big things we did was the Seritage REIT spinoff. And then apart from that, we did a lot of retail redevelopment of existing stores and Kmarts and things that we had and finding new uses for them. And while I was working there, I kind of started seeing that Sears was going under and retail was really going to be struggling in general.
What's the time frame on that?
That was like 2013, okay. 2014.
Yeah. Yep.
I started seeing the writing on the wall and just kind of started putting my toes into e-commerce, started selling eBooks online. That was my first step. Then started building brands, importing products from Asia and selling them on Amazon. And then finally, I got to where I am today, which is running my company, AMZ Advisors. And what we do is we do e-commerce marketing for brands and manufacturers that are trying to sell more on the Amazon platform.
That's awesome, man. Listen, your experience there, you talked about around 2013, 14, recognizing what's happening with Sears and Kmart and kind of that retail space. It reminds me of my own experience, right? Being in corporate America, working in the automotive industry around 2008, 2009, and seeing what was going on there and trying to figure out how I was going to pivot. For you went in e-commerce. What exactly was it about e-commerce that was attractive for you? And how did you make that transition? Like, what was the first thing to get into e-commerce and launch that first ebook?
Yeah, I think, I mean, personally myself, like I never grew up as like the entrepreneur. I was never the kid outside shoveling driveways. I was never like with a lemonade stand. I always thought like get a good job, work for someone else, make good money that way. And then I realized like, when I was working for someone else, I wasn't happy with it. I wanted to be doing something for myself. But I was really, really intimidated. I wanted something that was kind of low risk. I didn't want to go out and launch my background is in real estate. I didn't want to go out and launch my own real estate company. That seemed like too risky at the time. E-commerce was a way for me to get in by investing a little bit of money into a product or into a book, for example, an ebook, and just start selling stuff at low cost, low risk, and then seeing what the return would be on it. So literally started with the eBooks, which, you write a book once and then you're just earning royalties on it forever. I still earn royalties on books that I wrote in 2014.
What was that first book? What was the first book?
The first book was, I don't even remember at this point. I haven't even logged in. I just see the payments being deposited into my checking account each month. So that's all I care about.
Yeah.
But I wrote a couple on real estate. I wrote a couple on like some types of like diets and stuff. I mean, literally, this is just like, they weren't great. I'll be honest.
Was this stuff you researched, or was this just like you already had the knowledge? So it was like, hey, I've been doing this professionally. Let me just take this knowledge, put it into a book and see if I can monetize it.
The real estate side, yes. The other ones, no. I had no experience. I actually hired a ghostwriter to write all of that for me for like $200. So pretty cheap. Get someone on Fiverr to create a book cover for me and then start selling it. So literally when I'm talking about low risk, low investment and start making money, that is about as low investment as you can get. The next step up was, buying physical products, and, you buy $5,000 worth of inventory from Asia. I mean, obviously $5,000 is a bigger investment, but the upside on that is you might be able to, turn that for $25,000, $30,000. So, again, it was another way for me to just make a small investment, test something, see how risky it was, and see what the return was. So that's why e-commerce just made sense for me. It was easy for me to just kind of get into that rhythm, because I wasn't so sure about whether it was going to work, what the results would be, how profitable it would be, and whether I would end up losing money. So I didn't want to, jump full into anything, whether it was starting my own real estate agency or like building some massive brand right from the start.
And how did you start this? I mean, were you working your day job and doing this on the side, or did you just pivot completely and say, hey, I'm going to go all in on e-commerce?
Yep. I was working my day job. I was still redeveloping real estate and, selling Sears assets and whatever I could to raise money. And at night, I was dealing with ebook writers in, India, the Philippines, wherever they were, researching products, talking to manufacturers in China before I would go to bed. Literally like working pretty much 8 o'clock in the morning until like 10, 11 o'clock at night, just trying to get stuff done. So I was doing it outside of work. The great thing about e-commerce is once you actually have the product, once you have your supply chain, your branding, everything figured out, it's a lot more passive in the sense that you're just pretty much selling and you're just managing something versus like in it day to day. So getting it going, there's a little bit more investment, but once it's going, it kind of goes on its own.
Yeah, I think the thing that's beautiful is you talked about this as a side hustle, right? This is a project that you launched on the side. You had low investment into it, right? Sounds like maybe less than $1,000 all in, right, on the first ebook. So to create this product, launch it, see if it has any traction. Is it worth continuing to invest in, or do you pivot? And if you're looking for something, right, anything to get going and just provide another stream of income, that might be something, especially if you have a skill set or experiences that people are trying to learn, whether that's, marketing or health related, wellness related, things like that. Creating kind of an ebook or product that you can monetize, and to your point, create one time and then be able to have, a passive revenue stream from it. That's a great way to build it. It's something that people should think about. For listeners who are like, hey, I've had an idea to do that, right? Certainly I have the knowledge, I have the experience or whatever. I've wanted to create an ebook. Let's walk through that process a little bit, right? You talked about getting kind of a ghostwriter, getting somebody on Fiverr to help kind of design it. What is that process just on the creation? Then we can get into kind of the back end of marketing and publishing, but just start wanting, right? Day one, you make the decision. What's the first thing to start actually developing the content?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot to kind of unwrap there. And there's a lot of different uses for ebooks. I mean, you can sell it for profit. You can make money on it. But I mean, I think you also made a good point in there that, it can also be a great marketing tool for you. So you can use that as a lead magnet. But, we'll go into that a little bit more maybe after. The actual process of it is really just finding something that whatever your niche is, whatever your knowledge piece is that you can provide value in that currently isn't on the market, or you see an opportunity on the market within the Amazon space is just one place, but there are a lot of other websites where you can publish your books, like Goodreads is another one. And there are other ones that I just am not as familiar with. But the whole process is, starting with that, figuring out there are a lot of ghostwriting websites out there. Literally just Google ghostwriting, and I'm sure you'll find one that comes up. And then you just start with them. I mean, I got some of my books written for, $150 for 100 pages or, 80 pages or whatever it would be. Turn around, sell them for, $5, $6 on Amazon, and you're making, a 70% royalty on the sale. So you can do that. And then once it's on Amazon, Amazon will actually put it into paperback if you want. So now you can sell an ebook. You can also sell paperback and make more money that way. So there's a lot of different opportunities there to kind of do it. And it really just starts with finding the niche, finding the ghostwriter, and probably a graphic designer to do the cover for you. And that's it.
Yeah, let's talk about finding the niche, right? So what's that process, especially if you're doing a ghostwriter, because now you're not limited to, that specific topic that you spent 10, 15 years of your personal experience, right? You're not pouring out your process. Now you're just writing about anything. So how do you identify the niche and where that opportunity may lie?
Yeah. So the best place to start is if you're going to use Amazon, just get some research tools. There's a lot of them out there. One of the ones that we use is Jungle Scout. And with Jungle Scout, you can search for a specific term on the Amazon platform and then get sales projections for this term based on the search volume. So, for example, if we want to search for real estate books, just put it out there. You would just go there and type in, real estate book or commercial real estate book or whatever it may be. You'll see what the results are coming up, how much volume is in the market, how many sales there are, what that revenue number looks like, how competitive the other books are, how many reviews they have, how long they've been there. All of that's kind of going to play into your decision on whether you're going to go into a niche if it's not your specialty. Typically, I would recommend competitive wise, you want something that probably has less than 100 reviews on the book side, because, that means that there's good social proof, but it's not, like overwhelming. It's not thousands of reviews. When you get to that point, that's a little difficult to compete with. But if you're launching a product, getting that initial review, getting that going, there's a lot of categories out there where you might be able to get your product to page one pretty quickly if you have good content on the Amazon side. So now we're talking about the actual marketing piece of it, getting that organic ranking, and then possibly even getting advertising or driving outside traffic to it.
All right, let's talk about that, right? So publishing wise, finding that niche, you can use Jungle Scout, figure out what search terms are out there, get the ghostwriters, start creating the content. Now let's talk about how to actually market that book and get it kind of, like you said, first page, or just really starting to build some buzz around this book. What are some key tips there?
Yeah. So I'll actually kind of talk about this from both perspectives, from the books and the physical goods, because the process is somewhat similar. That tool, Jungle Scout, you can also use for finding physical products. So, searching for, cell phone case or whatever, that's don't sell that product. That's terrible. It's incredibly competitive. But anyway, that's just an example. Then once you have your product, it all starts with, your imagery. So how do you make your product images look better? So if you're doing a book, you want to make sure that you have a good looking cover. You might want to have some, possibly customer feedback or reviews that you've gotten in the imagery. So when someone's clicking through, they see that in the images. On a physical product, you want to call out what the features or what the benefits are to the consumer that's purchasing it. And then once you have the imagery, you need to focus on the actual written content. So what are you putting on the page that's helping your product index better on Amazon, but it's also good sales copy and it's making consumers that come to the page purchase. So you want to start by doing more keyword research. You're going to go in depth to find whatever search terms are related to whatever product you're selling. And then you're going to start constructing your content. So your most important keyword or the most relevant keyword to whatever your product or your book is needs to be in the title, period. It has to be in there in some form. You want to have that there. And then you want to use the rest of your keywords that are important in the bullet points or in the product description for whatever the product is. So focusing on those best keywords in the front end of the written description is extremely important. If you're doing a physical product, you can also put other related keywords in the back end that don't show up on the front end. And all of that keyword, all of that copywriting, that's what gets your product indexed organically on the Amazon platform. So it helps Amazon determine where they place your product. And then over time, that is going to become more and more valuable as you start selling your product, getting more sales history, and showing Amazon that you're relevant for a specific search term based on the number of purchases you're getting on that search term.
So for the marketing nerds and the e-commerce geeks, I'm sure they loved everything you said. For the rest of our listeners, you may have went over their head, right? You just may have lost them. So for folks who are interested in maybe learning more about e-commerce and understanding the marketing aspect of it, but probably not at the detail you just disclaimed, right? Like, are there resources out there to help them with marketing kind of e-commerce books and products?
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of different ways to learn more about selling in e-commerce. There's a lot of great free resources out there. On our website, we have our own blog where we put a lot of content out there about how to sell. And we also have an online educational course where anyone that's looking to learn about how to sell on the Amazon platform can literally learn every step. everything I talked about, from product research to creating the content to ordering inventory, dealing with manufacturers, managing advertising, all of that stuff. So that's AMZ Courses. You can check it out at amzcourses.com if you're interested in that, or you can always reach out to me, and I'm sure we'll have my contact information in the show notes or something later, so you can get that and just ask me any questions you have.
Absolutely. We'll make sure we do that, Mike. Appreciate that. Hey, I want to pivot, right? I want to go back, kind of highlight, level this conversation up a little bit, because we talked a lot about your experience, in the Sears space, working retail, and kind of seeing the writing on the wall in making that transition into e-commerce. As we stand sitting here doing this recording right now, the impact of COVID has left, some industries still doing extremely well, multifamily being one, and others with maybe a bit more volatility and some opportunity. I think hospitality is one. Retail is another where there are some opportunities, and you've seen some stores close. You've seen some have some financial issues, and e-commerce is actually one of this drivers that has had an impact in this space. I want to talk more high level. When you think about retail versus e-commerce, what's the impact from your viewpoint, and where do you see things going over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think what we've seen over the last, almost a year at this point, because we're almost back to March, but a lot of companies that's primarily focused on their brick and mortar as their main sales channel have struggled a lot. Depending on where they are, what states they're in, they may have experienced different levels of shutdowns, lockdowns, restrictions, whatever it was. And a lot of those companies didn't invest enough in their online presence in their online sales channels. And, that's forced a lot of retailers to close, a lot of them to, make massive cutbacks on employees. They've had to lay people off, whatever it may be. I think the direction it's going to keep going is that the omni-channel and the e-commerce experience is going to be way more important. So when I say omni-channel, I'm talking about having your brick and mortar stores, but also having your online sales channel. So if someone wants to go online, they buy your product there. Perfect. Let's say they want to return it, they bring it to your store. That's what omni-channel is considered, being able to just handle everything through the company, no matter where they want to go, whatever they want to do with it. That makes the customer shopping experience way better. And retailers that are able to do that are going to be the ones that I think are going to be doing a lot better once things go a little bit back to normal. But then on the e-commerce side, it's just exploded. We've seen incredible growth on Amazon. Amazon's earnings just came out, and their advertising platform is now the largest advertising platform out there. It's bigger than Google. It's bigger than Facebook. So, if a retailer wants to be found, they need to be advertising on Amazon. They need to have their products there. The way that we always frame this conversation to our customers is that, Amazon is the biggest brand awareness tool. So, if you have a brand, if you have a good quality product, actually, that's probably the most important thing. If your product quality is good, it doesn't matter if you're a mom and pop store in, Missouri or, Florida, wherever it is. If your product is good, now you can reach a much broader audience than your local neighborhood. So we've literally helped small one-person operations go from, $30,000 a month to doing almost $400,000 a month in the past 12 months, just because of the shift to online. And, while they were just selling locally in North Carolina before, now they're selling their products across the entire country. And the potential audience they have for purchasing their products has just grown massively. So when it comes to that, I think any retailer has the opportunity to get those same results. It's just a matter of adopting the idea of selling online and really investing in it and going full steam ahead, because retail is going to be changing. It's going to continue to happen in the future. Whatever your current setup is may not be relevant in a few years. There's so many changes that can happen. It's really difficult to nail down all of them.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too. I love your point about having that mom and pop retailer who maybe they were used to selling whatever product it was, just locally at their one store, and maybe their growth plan or their expansion plans were to add 2 or 3 new locations, and now to be able to think about focusing on the e-commerce aspect of it. And instead of being limited to the physical location, but to actually be able to ship products across the country and maybe even globally, that opens up the growth potential for a lot of these companies. I think on the flip side of that equation, if you are a retail investor, whether that's triple net leasing or you're looking to buy, a location to run your business, you may have some changes that you need to account for going forward. And I think that's something that, it's kind of hard to put a footprint on, because there is still such a demand for that physical interaction, that brick and mortar location. But, if you're looking at really growing a business, there's way less overhead if you're able to have an online e-commerce business versus all the overhead of, actually having that physical location. You have your employees there. You've got to ring out the customers. I mean, there's a lot of other things there. As you kind of see companies, you talked about the one company that kind of expanded in North Carolina, but are you seeing more big brands and other companies really embracing e-commerce more? And do you expect that to continue?
Yeah, I expect that to continue a lot. And we do see a lot more investment on the online platform. You did make another good point there that I just wanted to touch on, is when we're thinking about the overhead perspective, just thinking about from the rent perspective, if you have a business where you're selling online, the rent per square foot of a warehouse is way cheaper than inline retail. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. Like, you're getting way more for your money that you're actually, spending on your rent when you're getting a warehouse. But to go back to your question, yes, there are a lot more bigger brands investing in Amazon. Amazon has some incredibly powerful advertising capabilities. One of them is the DSP platform, which is for display programmatic advertising. And with DSP, you can essentially retarget anyone on Amazon that's purchased your product, send them to your own website, send them to wherever you want for them to purchase the product again. And we're seeing massive companies that are pulling millions and millions of dollars out of TV advertising and pushing it into the DSP platform, because there's such a potential to reach people that they know are actually going to purchase their product, or that are interested in their product or interested in their competitors' products, and then try to convert them to their brand. One good sign of this is the minimum investment from DSP went from about $35,000 per month to over $1 million per month. So there's actually not enough supply to meet all the demand for the DSP advertising, which is why they're increasing the minimum investment. So more and more brands are shifting to advertising online.
Did you say the minimum investment is $1 million a month?
Yeah.
So not ideal for most of our listeners, probably, right? Unless you got a $12 million advertising budget.
What you can do is you can essentially pool your money together with other companies. Like, we're a company that does that, and there are other companies that are out there. So, if you have 20,000, if you have 10,000, you partner with other people that can help you get to that million mark over time. But the minimum investment has jumped a lot over the last year, because there's just not enough supply to get all of this ad demand out there.
Got it. Makes sense. And I think the thing too that jumped out to me is like, for retailers, just to understand that those that embrace, e-commerce and technology and the advertising potential there, those are the ones who are going to win and be successful. I mean, if you really think about it, most consumers are looking for that product, right? So if I'm looking for a t-shirt, for instance, do I really care if I get it from Kmart or Target or whatever store? I'm looking for the shirt. If it's a shirt I want, if I'm looking for a blue t-shirt, I'm looking for a blue t-shirt, right? And I may have some specifics that I want, but other than that, I'm looking for a blue t-shirt. And to go to a store to not have the shirt I'm looking for, not in my size, or I don't like the brand or whatever, and now I've got to run around to different stores versus being able to go on my computer, order it from, Amazon or wherever else and have it delivered to my house. As long as I don't need it same day, that's probably sufficient. So I think a lot of people, the consumer behavior has shifted so much over the last 5-10 years, where the expectation is, hey, if I come to the store and you don't have what I'm looking for, I feel like I've wasted my time. And now I'm mad at myself that I got in the car, drove to the store, shopped, you didn't have what I wanted, and now I'm going to go home, get on my computer and ordered it. And I feel like that's what I should have just done in the first place, right? So it's a negative consumer experience, and it's tough because if you don't have that inventory in store, you basically are reinforcing this issue. And to your point, I mean, it's why Amazon has done so well and is so successful. And it's really tough for those brick and mortar stores to compete with that experience if they can't, deliver for a customer who's looking for something very specific.
Yeah. I think focusing on just the brick and mortar is antiquated. I mean, you really need to be flexible now to be successful in the Amazon platform. You need to be able to adopt new technologies, adopt new sales channels, whatever's coming faster. You need to have the flexibility to do that. One of the great ways a lot of e-commerce companies can do that is by essentially outsourcing the work to a service provider like a marketing agency, where they might be able to get one sales channel, manage that for them for a fraction of the cost. And if you're able to get onto 10 different sales channels within a year, the amount of customers that you're going to reach across all those sales channels is going to be a lot higher than the people that are coming into your store. So again, it is an investment. It's being flexible. It's finding the best ways, testing new opportunities to get traffic to wherever you're trying to sell. And yeah, I mean, not being so focused on that retail side, brick and mortar retail side anymore, because it's just not reliable.
And I'll say this too, on the flip side of that equation is retail still has an important, vital role, right? And I think those retailers that understand the experience, if you can create an experience, you can still, thrive. And, Target's a great example, right? Target does a great job of laying out an experience at their stores. Not just Target, but think about those things that you can't outsource to e-commerce, right? The service side of it. You think about beauty shops and nail salons and, those places where you still need that human interaction. They still are positioned to do extremely well. But something that is more transactional, if I can handle it, or if a consumer can handle that through a couple of clicks of a button, and you don't find a way to create an experience or have, you mentioned that omnichannel solution where it all works together, that's where you may have some exposure. So any of our retail investors, just keep that in mind as you're looking at opportunities, right? Is this something where e-commerce can cannibalize the business, or is this something where the e-commerce side can actually, coexist and help create a more fulfilling solution for customers? And I think that has to start going into your evaluation. If it hasn't already, you should definitely be considering that as we go forward. Hey, Mike, I want to transition to our Bullseye Round. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Give me a failure or an apparent failure that set you up for later success.
I would say one of the apparent failures, or one of the failures, it isn't a failure, was that when we were first starting on the e-commerce side and building our own brands, I have two partners right now. There was originally a fourth partner. And when we launched these brands, we realized that one of the partners wasn't as invested time-wise in actually growing things. And that brand failed completely. So from there, it helped us realize that if you're going to partner with other people, you need to make sure that you have the same goals and the same alignment, or you're just going to run into issues. And, he was a friend as well, so that also created, other issues. So be careful opening businesses with friends. Make sure you have the same goals and same alignment. And yeah, I mean, that will help you avoid a lot of failures.
Give me a resource, or give me a digital or mobile resource that you recommend for your business.
Ooh, Amazon. Can I say the Amazon app?
Makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great one. Another great resource, if you're going to be in the e-commerce space, I mentioned it before, Jungle Scout. There are a lot of other ones out there. Product research tools for the Amazon platform or for other e-commerce platforms are super helpful to launch your own brands.
Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
It's another tough one. This is probably a tie between two. One is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. The other is Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. And they don't really seem that related, but for me, both of them just remind me to keep working on what I do well and keep pushing ahead no matter what resistance I'm finding.
What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you were starting out?
I wish I knew how easy it was when I was starting right out of school to start selling online. I mean, if I had started in 2012 selling products online, I don't, I might be retired by this point, who knows. But yeah, if I realized how important e-commerce was, I would have just done that right from the start.
Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
Every day I go for a long run. I run every night after work, usually for anywhere between 40 minutes to an hour. Just really helps me clear my mind, focus on the things that I got done today, what I have to still work on, and things I can improve on.
What are you curious about right now?
Oh geez, what am I curious about? I'm curious about, this is just a personal thing, I'm curious about what's going on in the stock market, because none of it makes sense to me right now, and these companies are incredibly overvalued, but that's a personal thing.
Yeah, I mean, as we're recording this, we're coming right off of the GameStop fiasco, and who knows how long this will continue. But between GameStop, AMC, and these other stocks just doing their roller coaster ride, so definitely interesting, and seeing the power of the people, right, and everything going on with Robinhood and all that stuff. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. All right, so you moved down to Mexico. We didn't get to talk about this a lot, but maybe real quick we could talk about why you moved to Mexico, and in doing that, give me the best place to grab a bite where you're at in Guadalajara.
Okay, so to go a little bit into the story, when we were starting the agency side, again, we wanted to take a low risk, low investment. This is like a trend that kind of goes through my life, take the small risks as possible. We moved to Mexico because the cost was low. We wanted to be able to support ourselves. We wanted to focus full time, and living in New York or the tri-state area, the cost is way higher than being in Mexico. So we ended up moving down here. As the business kept growing, I wanted to go travel more. I ended up meeting my girlfriend in Guadalajara, which is where I live now. And yeah, as the business kept growing, we realized that we needed to continue to hire more and more people. And as you can see, I'm sitting in my office right now. It's empty, but we have a 20-person team here in Mexico. So we've been able to scale our team a lot quicker than we would have if we were hiring in the US over the past 2.5 years. And for the best place to go eat in Guadalajara, there's a very, very, very good steakhouse called La Matera. All the meat is from Sonora up north, which is like the best quality meat that I've ever had. And yeah, it's just phenomenal.
Awesome, man. Good to hear. I love that. And it's interesting that for you, low risk meant moving countries. So most people would say, hey, why don't we get some VAs or something else? And you're like, hey, let's go from New York to Mexico. That's going to be the lowest risk we could take.
Yeah. How can we make our savings last as long as possible? How can we get the most out of our income or the biggest return on it?
Oh. And
yeah, I mean, going from $15 avocado toast to a $1 avocado is a great way to do it.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Mike, a lot of great insights, man. I appreciate you talking about your experience going from kind of the corporate side, working with Sears and understanding the retail space, transitioning more to e-commerce, starting with books, now kind of building out more e-commerce stores and platforms, and really just understanding how to get going. If you are looking to get into e-commerce, Mike gave a lot of great resources to help you grow and help you pivot and kind of build something on the side. And you talked a lot about low risk. This is something that you can do for less than $1,000 to get going. And then, I mean, there's a whole next level to this where you can buy e-commerce business, which we didn't even get into today. But there's a lot of ways to grow. Hey, Mike, for those folks who want to learn a little bit more about e-commerce, get in touch with you, maybe learn about some of the courses and resources you have available, what is the best way to reach out?
So the best way to really get in touch with me directly is my email. It's mike@amzadvisors.com. Alternatively, you can also check out our website, amzadvisors.com. We have a lot of resources on our blog. You can learn more about the services we offer. If you want to take the course, you can access the course through that website at amzcourses.com as well. Those are all great ways to just get in touch with me. Again, if you have any questions, I'm always glad to talk. Feel free to shoot me an email and I'll see if there's any way I can help you.
Hey, Mike, thank you for being a guest today on Target Market Insights, the multifamily marketing show. We hope you have a great day. We'll stay in touch with you.
Thank you for having me, John. I really appreciate it. And I hope your audience found it valuable.
Absolutely. Take care, man.
You too.